This is a Pokeball Plus. You can use it like a Joy-Con controller with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, or play the entire game with it alone. You can put a Pokemon into the Pokeball Plus, then bring it with you. Sounds like there's already one inside. It's the mythical Pokemon Mew. Mew comes exclusive with every Pokeball Plus and can join you on your journey through the game. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, and the Pokeball Plus will be available on November 16th.
Alright, so I think this is one of the last things to talk about when it comes to Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee at E3, since this information is not coming from the gameplay demo that we had at the Treehouse, but the little bit that we had from Reggie saying, hey, what's that inside the Pokeball Plus? It's Mew. Get Mew. That was pretty much all the information that we got during the Nintendo Direct that started off Nintendo's E3, but then we got more information following that up. The Nintendo Direct went from 9 a.m. to 9:45, then at 9:48 we got a couple extra bits of information kind of clarifying how the Mew distribution is going to go, because there's already a few weird things that happened during that Nintendo Direct. That when you see right here, it says internet connection and Nintendo account required to receive Mew, and so from some of the other information as well, it sounds like the distribution could go away at some point. So yeah, your gift Mew may be discontinued at some point after the initial sales period of the Pokeball Plus. So does that mean it's going to be discontinued off of the Nintendo servers as an event distribution, or does it come preloaded into the Pokeball Plus? It's still not super clear about that, because my thought is, it's like if a Pokemon came with a Pokewalker. You buy it, Mew's already in there, you go, and then you just kind of sync it up, and then you're good to go. So canceling the distribution would mean that like the second or third wave of manufacturing for Pokeball Plus might not include it. Since it's not a launch Pokeball Plus, then that way you don't receive Mew that way. So maybe the internet connection or the Nintendo account is just to kind of register. That you register your Pokeball Plus with your Nintendo account, that way it just kind of knows what's going on, and then it could maybe be a preventative step for duping or any kind of other exploits that might happen with the Pokeball Plus. Because one thing that you notice is like, wait a second, they already showed footage of the Pokeball Plus during the trailer, and you know, take Pikachu for a stroll. She's just out having some fun with her friends and then playing around with Pikachu out in public. So what does this mean for the internet connection? Does it take an internet connection to put the Pokeball Plus Pokemon back into Nintendo Switch, or is it just a one-time registration, which also will require the paid Nintendo internet service? Which is where we start getting into some other issues that people are having. So right now, the current trend with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is that a lot of players are just trying to nitpick and find any unreasonable thing to hate about the game, and this is the next one. That they're pretty much just calling, you know, the Pokeball Plus $50 DLC that you have to pay to get Mew. It's just an ultimate cash grab. Manaphy was a $40 paywall when you think about it, because you had to get Pokemon Rangers or else you had no access to Manaphy. You also had to beat the game. So there was a lot of extra work that went into getting a Manaphy distribution, but people weren't complaining about that. It's just that they are only looking for reasons to complain about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. So that's gonna be a little food for thought right there. And that brings us to the topic of this video. The $50 Mew, because Mew is only available in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee through the Pokeball Plus distribution, and the Pokeball Plus is a $50 accessory. Now the funny thing is, I did not consider for a single second that Mew was a $50 paywall DLC or whatever all these people are calling it. My first thought was, wow, that's really awesome of Game Freak to reward dedicated players and dedicated fans that want to buy this accessory that is very reminiscent of a lot of other things in Pokemon's past. Because the thing about the Pokeball Plus is that it functions as a Pokemon Go Plus. So the Pokemon Go Plus is already $35, which means the only thing that you need is the Pokeball Plus to find $15 in value, and then the Mew is effectively free. Now, when you consider it, the Pokeball Plus also functions as a controller, so it has a small amount of Joy-Con value right there. It also functions as a Pokewalker, which does have its own monetary value, depending on if you bought it like when Heart Gold Soul Silver came out, or if you're trying to buy one that people are reselling now, because those things are very expensive. So at the very least, you know, the Pokeball Plus is going to be able to hold its weight in its value, but also it could be used. I think they've also confirmed that's going to be usable in future Pokemon games in some way, and that they want to keep this accessory going with the Nintendo Switch. So definitely the Pokeball Plus is worth the $50 if you compare it to everything else, and also if you're just a Pokemon fan, you're going to buy the neat Nintendo accessory almost regardless of how much it costs, so getting a free Mew is awesome. but naturally keeping in line with the unnecessary hate that Pokemon Let's Go is getting. A lot of people are just saying stupid things about it. Nice $50 DLC, really takes away from actually working from it. You know, Mew was originally a bug, not a payment service, but none of these comments make sense. Because for starters, Mew was not even available in the original Pokemon games, and you had to jump through hoops to get a Mew distribution. The first Mew distribution was initially revealed in the May 1996 issue of CoroCoro Comics, so you had to go through a magazine kind of competition to be able to receive a Mew. The first promotion received 78,000 applicants, only 20 Mew were distributed. I like my odds better with trying to fight on Amazon to get Pokeball Plus or go to my GameStop and hope they have one reserved. 80,000 applicants and then 100 Mew were distributed the second time around. After that, there was like random hobby fairs, so 700 players at the 4th Next Generation Hobby Fair. So that means you had to go to some kind of, you know, convention in 1996 to get a chance at Mew, and it was only an in-person distribution. So I honestly really like this distribution because it reminds me of the old school ways of obtaining Pokemon, that not just Mew, but even before we had like all these online distributions, you had to show up in person somewhere. Now, it did get easier. Like, you'd have to go to Toys R Us, you'd have to go to GameStop, you'd have to stand in, like, a specific spot. That way, you could have the, like, automatic Game Boy system that's running a distribution software or something to be able to work. But it's not like online. You go online, you type in a code. Sometimes you just go online and you get things for free. And yet, somehow, people are complaining, like, oh, you don't even have to work for it, when 99% of Pokemon events, you don't even have to work for either. It's cooler. It's cool because the old Pokemon fans were getting that older kind of distribution exclusivity that used to exist back in the day. Another thing is, this reminds me of any other bundle. So the problem is that some people might have is, what if the Pokeball Plus sells out? Because the Pokeball Plus has sold out on Amazon, which means if you want one, you have to go to your local Best Buy, Walmart, GameStop, and pray that they have some in stock for you to get, which means even if you wanted the Pokeball Plus, if you can't get it because it's sold out, then that means you do not get the Mew. Well, the thing is, tough. That means you should have acted faster. You should have had more respect for the demand of this, similar to anything else. Back in the day, you know, if you wanted a midnight release of a game, if you thought, oh, I can show up 30 minutes before midnight and get a game, and then the line is already capped at that point, you didn't earn it. So that's why I like, you know, this counters the entitlement generation that we're in right now. That people want everything. They think that because they missed an event distribution back in 2007, they're allowed to hack the game for it. It's like, no, there is value inside the distributions because people that work for it are rewarded. It also reminds me of a lot of special edition stuff that you see with other games. The Fallout 76 Power Armor Edition, or whatever Assassin's Creed does when they give you a little figurine, or anything that is representative of the game. That the Pokeball Plus is built as like one of the ultimate Pokemon experiences. That Heart Gold Soul Silver, the Pokewalker was wildly successful because you were able to take your Pokemon with you on an adventure, and now we have the technological upgrade of that. You can hear your Pokemon inside of it, which is amazing. It has the feel. They put a lot of work into making it feel as real to a Pokeball as possible. So now I get to go out on a stroll, on an adventure with a Pokemon by my side once again. I'm not going to think twice about buying that, and Mew is not a monetary incentive in any way. That is rewarding the dedicated players. So that means the Mew that you get is going to be kind of like a badge. You know, it's going to be like when you use Mew inside the game, not only is it going to be rare, but it's a representation of your dedication, of your devotion to the game, because these limited edition stuff, they sell out. That if you weren't dedicated enough, if you weren't driven enough to go and get one, well then that's going to be it. Even if you don't have the money, I mean, you pre-order the bundle at GameStop, it costs you like $5-10 to reserve, so that means you have 5 months to save up that much money for it. It's not that difficult, but then people, they're entitled, they complain about it. So that's why I love that this shuts down all the spoiled people out there that think that they deserve everything that has ever been released in Pokemon, when the event distributions are counter to that. And even if you go back into the old days of Pokemon, like back in the 90s when games were harder and you had to earn your things, this feels very good for that. And that, I think it's, again, like, there's so much needless hate that the people that are complaining like, oh, it's just $50 DLC, greedy game freak, well, you don't deserve Mew anyways with that attitude. So it makes me happy that I'm actually able to show my fandom in a different way, much like you get the Power Armor set. You know, it's going to be the ultimate Fallout nerd that wears this actual wearable power helmet. There are going to be people that legitimately take that duffel bag to the gym because they are the true fans. So let's go into the other information about it, because yeah, it's only available through the Pokeball Plus. So the Pokeball Plus provides a fun and unique way to control Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. Just in case that's not enough incentive for you to get excited, the Pokeball Plus includes another cool feature. Each one has a mythical Pokemon Mew inside of it. So again, that's why I'm kind of confused about the internet distribution, because I feel like, yeah, when you buy it, Mew's in there, you connect it to your Nintendo Switch and you're good. So I'm wondering if to maybe put a Pokemon from the Switch onto the Pokeball doesn't take internet, but to put it back from the Pokeball into the Nintendo Switch does take internet to prevent duping, or you do have to register it or something like that. Now, this is where things kind of get crazy. Please note that you will not be able to bring Mew caught in Pokemon Go into Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. So here's where the people that complain about everything, even their arguments start to fall apart. Because it's like, oh, now it's rewarding Pokemon Go players too much, and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu is honestly just Pokemon Go 2. Well, actually, even if you did the work to get Pokemon Go, or to get Mew in Pokemon Go, it's not going to carry over. That this is a Let's Go main series exclusive thing. The ability to claim your Mew may be discontinued at some point after the initial sales period of the Pokeball Plus. So what this also seems to suggest is that the initial run, so the first two waves of Pokeball Plus are going to have the Mew. But say you buy a Pokeball Plus a year from now, it might not have the Mew anymore. So again, it's trying to rush it. It's not like So again, it's rewarding the hardcore dedicated players that are like, yo, I want the Pokeball Plus, I'm doing anything to get it. Oh cool, there happens to be a Mew inside of it. That if you try to pick it up, you know, later on, then it's not going to be in that first wave. It's not going to have the Mew inside of it. So I'm wondering how long they're going to keep this up. I feel like the next Pokeball Plus, because it's sold out on Amazon right now, so if they do another wave of sales after the game or something, if they kind of go through manufacturing, I feel like the first couple of Pokeball Plus are going to have Mew inside of it. After that, it's gone. So that's pretty crazy right there. You know, it says Mew cannot be obtained by any other means in Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, making it an extraordinary treat for the owners of the Pokeball Plus. And I think that all that is incredibly fair. I don't see any problem with this, because again, even if like it's like, say you're a fan of an anime or TV show and they're doing like a limited 500 run of a figurine and you want that figurine more than anything and it costs several $100s, well, that's where the value comes in. That the Mew is going to be valuable because there's probably like millions, maybe over a million Pokeball Plus that are going to be manufactured and distributed and stuff. So there's still going to be a lot of Mew, but it just kind of shows that extra little bit of devotion. It shows that extra little bit like, yo, this guy means business when he's showing up with that Mew. Also, it does have value. Even if you got, like, what if you buy the Pokeball Plus and you don't want Mew? Well, that means you can trade it for whatever you want. Your friend gets a shiny Dragonite that's competitively viable, you're going to be using that. Alakazam is going to be an absolute monster in Pokemon Let's Go competitively, so you could trade that Mew for an entire team of competitive Pokemon. Think about it that way, that just because you missed out on the distribution doesn't mean it's impossible for you to get a Mew. Gotta get creative about it. You know, you give someone a full team of competitive Pokemon for that Mew, and hey, look at that, you were able to get the Mew for free because you were able to apply some other skills that apply to the game, and I think that that is also where it comes in. So, as long as Mew doesn't get hacked into oblivion, and hopefully that's why you have to connect to the internet, that if your Nintendo Switch says, hey, I have a Mew, and that Mew did not have any online or any kind of like verifiable history behind it, and you get bricked for that, I'd be incredibly happy for that as well. So I do hope that this is in place to also make Mew preserve its value, and even then, some people go say, well, it's a competitive advantage, you're just buying one of the strongest Pokemon. Again, you're buying the Pokeball Plus, which is worth well over $50, and then you end up getting a distribution that happened back in the past. So that means, are the 20 people just super, you know, unfair advantage that they applied and they ended up winning the lottery? It's like, no, this is just kind of how those distributions have worked in the past, and it just kind of transfers over to the same thing now. I mean, even Manaphy, and even when you think about it, legendary Pokemon and mythical Pokemon aren't usually allowed in standard Pokemon play, so it's not going to be this like super unfair Pokemon either. It's just going to be there, and it's going to be a nice treat for every player that wanted the Pokeball Plus to have. So you guys, enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.